My 36F husband, 42M, announced that we would no longer talk about anything political. Please do not repost. So my husband and I are on different sides of the political spectrum. Dated for 3 years and married for 2. When we met and dated, it gave me pause for a moment, but he is not very political, so I figured let's try this. I fell in love. Didn't care about his politics anymore. So my husband says he is with a certain party, but he doesn't vote, and really most of it I think is just to get a rise out of people and fight with people, which he enjoys. I am at the opposite side. Most of my life I grew up in areas that were the opposite, so I learned to keep my opinions to myself. But I've become more active. Certain issues I will fight and die over. Lately one of those issues has been very much front and center, and one night I was tell my husband about a new news story when he just announced that he didn't want to talk about anything political anymore. I asked why. He said he's tired of hearing about it and I'm getting too wrapped up in it. But since then, fine, I won't talk about it. Now our conversation is hi. How was your day? This happened at work. Did you hear this? Then we just scroll on our phones. Maybe sitting next to each other but no talking. I've tried to talk about other things. Like, hey, here is an interesting thing. My husband has bluntly said I don't care about that. It's boring. Last night he was looking at vehicles online, asked my opinion. I asked a question because of things he said before. I got a very condescending answer, an explanation of how I just don't understand anything. I told him I was done helping him. His attitude was not appreciated or needed, and I would not continue. I got up and went into the kitchen to clean, then went and read in bed. I don't want this to be my life. Just silence. I also don't want to be made to feel stupid for trying. Any suggestions? I mean, you married someone who at best you thought was pretty much indifferent to issues you say mean so much to you that you'd fight or die for them, and sees them as nothing more than entertainment to get a rise out of people. And at worst, the implication is that you have fundamentally different moral and ethical values. Did you really think that this was going to be a strong basis for a lifelong, mutually supportive partnership? You say that you don't want this to be your life, but I'm struggling to understand what you thought your life was going to be going into this. Did you think that he was going to listen to your opinions that he fundamentally disagreed with and come to agree with you? Or just let you go on and on about things that he felt vastly differently about but be happy to hear you hold forth anyway? That it wouldn't irk him and he just wouldn't mind? Did you not think that his opinions would ever come into your marriage? Or that he might not want to hear yours, knowing how disparate your beliefs were? Or did you just not think about it at all? This was clearly a recipe for disaster from the start, because you never set any ground rules for how you were going to deal with the dichotomy. I think if you're going to save this marriage, if you want to save this marriage, your only hope at this point is counseling and to address it head on. I mean, you chose to keep dating and marry this person. It doesn't seem like he's changed at all. You just got tired of him. You are incompatible. Your husband sounds like a generally unpleasant person. He enjoys getting a rise out of people? He tells you that the topics you bring up are boring? He talks down to you and belittles you? Is this what you want the rest of your life to look like? He enjoys fighting with PPL and purposely making them upset. Shocker that he's an asshole generally. Don't have kids with this hothead and seriously consider finding someone who cares about you and your opinions. Generally speaking, it's best if you marry someone who likes you. Hugs. Not sure how you go on to marry someone so indifferent, but I don't get this luxury to ignore issues. Can't imagine agreeing to marry someone that just doesn't care. Or worse, has beliefs that currently exist on the opposite aisle. So my husband says he is with a certain party but he doesn't vote, and really most of it I think is just to get a rise out of people and fight with people which he enjoys. Gee, I wonder what her husband's party is, wondered absolutely no one. You married an asshole and now, surprise surprise, you're dealing with the consequences. I fell in love. Didn't care about his politics anymore. I think is just to get a rise out of people and fight with people which he enjoys. You married a guy who enjoys being deliberately antagonistic. He enjoys baiting people and fighting. Meaning he's a real-life troll, and you thought that made him good partner for life material? Yeah, don't marry someone who has opposing political views. Everything is political. I'm assuming you are fighting about reproductive rights. A woman's body is a political thing. So you can't even express an idea like, I can do what I like with my body, without it being a political statement. I'm non-political, is for people at the top of the privilege tree. Realistically, how are you going to avoid politics for the next 40 years or whatever? Really most of it I think is just to get a rise out of people and fight with people which he enjoys. If you don't get to talk about politics within your marriage, he shouldn't engage people simply to get a rise out of them either. Also, if he doesn't vote, he shouldn't be doing this either. I've tried to talk about other things. Like, hey, here is an interesting thing. My husband has bluntly said I don't care about that. It's boring. I think this is the more concerning thing really. He doesn't seem to be interested in what you have to say at all. This is only further underscored by how he treated you when you asked a question about a car. Any suggestions? He sounds like an asshole and he needs to be confronted about it by a third party. So this means therapy or couples therapy. Genuinely. He is an asshole. He doesn't care about politics enough to vote. Yet he debates people to get a rise out of them. He set a rule in the house that you two can't discuss politics. And in general, he is really condescending toward you. He is a massive asshole. I have a good idea who he votes for tears of joy. Why would you want to be with someone who thinks you don't deserve rights? He uses his political views to get rise of people? And he enjoys fighting? He must be a miserable person to live with. Well, to be honest, it's your own fault. You married him. Either accept him. You knew the kind of person he is. Or move on. There's no, I'm sorry you're going through this. Op. You met him at 31sts. You'd have known better. Most of it I think is just to get a rise out of people and fight with people which he enjoys. My husband has bluntly said I don't care about that. It's boring. So, the issue isn't politics. It's that you married a man who is the living embodiment of a nihilistic online troll who enjoys fighting with people. There are ultimately 1,000 things people can discuss in this world. The social dynamics of meerkats, planetary solar systems, fashion, music, etc. Politics is often an undercurrent in most daily things, but there are topics where they aren't omnipresent. The issue isn't you both have nothing to talk about, it is that he is actively showing you he doesn't want to engage with you. I mean, I would have a get it together and become a better partner conversation with him or explain, given you don't want to cohabitate with a phone-scrolling lump for the remainder of your days that you will be packing up. What's your preferred outcome here? 1. He acquiesces and engages in conversation you know he doesn't want to have. 2. He sees the error of his ways and becomes a proponent of your preferred party. 3. Political ideology becomes less front and center in everyday news. Outcome 1 isn't going to make either of you happy. And outcomes 2 and 3 seem rather unlikely. I'm not trying to be an asshole. But what exactly do you want to happen here? This incompatibility isn't new. It just newly became a problem. What is keeping you in this relationship? Because from your description, it sounds like you're basically just roommates who don't get along. Girl, you will not fight or die for any issues, because if you did, or if you even knew anyone that actually cares that much, you would have never even been with someone who doesn't have the same values at you. Like, my God, you won't even stand up to your husband, but you think you'd fight or die for these issues. Simon lol, get divorced or start being real with yourself that you don't care about these issues as much as you say. This is 100% not a husband problem. Although I can't say you picked a good one. It is 100% a you problem. You entered this relationship knowing where he stood, and you've stayed with him even though he acts this way. Sometimes I wonder what people actually fall in love with when, after the honeymoon period dies, they realize they have nothing to talk to each other about.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.